And that, I think I'm saying that because it's important to really understand that studying Torah is a subjective endeavor. You know, we should appreciate that's how this practice of interpretation works. So, the three qualities are right concentration. My concentration over these months in the fall was quite strong. And that again comes, my concentration, different people understand concentration differently, but I do believe that bringing back the attention over and over again to the present moment builds concentration. And the value of that is that when we're in the present moment, we have a unified experience. We have the potential for a unified experience. The body and the mind can come together in the present moment. And it allows for balance, real balance, but it also allows for, it engenders buoyancy and bliss, because everything is together. You know, there's not this disparate pull. It just comes with concentration. So, you know, as we practice, you know, am I getting more concentrated? You know, leave the questions aside. It happens. It just happens. It happens on the cushion. It happens off the cushion. And it is aided by strength, like the commitment to do it over and over again. But I'm not going to talk about that yet. The other thing that I had really thought of, and so Hannah, you know, she's the mother of concentration, because in our understanding, avoda, our prayer practice, is our concentration practice. And she is the mother of prayer. I mean, for those of you who don't know her story, and I guess probably a lot of you don't know her story, so it doesn't mean anything when I tell you that, but I'll tell you. So Hannah was a woman, like most of the matriarchs, who was aruna. It's aruna. That's the wrong word. Sorry. Her womb was empty. She was called barren. Okay? She wanted to get pregnant. And she had a lot of dignity. That's how she's portrayed. And so she goes to the temple and she prays. And she's a figure of prayer. She prays such that Eli, the high priest, thinks she's drunk and says, you know, will you ever stop being drunk? And she says, you know, with a great amount of dignity, I'm not drunk, I'm praying. And God hears her prayer. She gets pregnant. And the other quality that I bring into this that's important for developing patience of spirit besides concentration is knowing towards what end we practice, having aspirations, having little aspirations, medium-sized aspirations, and big-sized aspirations. Hannah knew what her aspiration was. She wanted a child who she could devote to God. Her commitment, her bargain with God was, as soon as he's old enough to be weaned, I will offer him to you. So she brings her son Shmuel, as soon as he's weaned, back to the temple. And he becomes one of the great figures for us. Great figure. And in my practice, in my life, and certainly this fall when I was really dealing with, when I was having this moment, and in my life all the time, I have little and big and medium-sized aspirations. You know, it may be that you sit at your cushion and you aspire to use as much effort in that sit as you can. Or it may be that you aspire to be free. Or it may be that you aspire to love your loved one just as they are. Or it may be that you aspire to practice restraint. whatever it is, I find it enormously helpful to really put out for myself aspirations that change over time. I mean, those of you who've sat with me for years know that I play with this. So like, I have aspired in my life to always give when asked, in ways that are appropriate. You know, I've taken that on as a practice, or I've aspired always to tell the truth at certain times in my life, which has really changed my practice. You know, and right now, one of my large aspirations is to practice such to be able to come to a place of balance such that regardless of the visiting stress, I can respond with ease and generosity. That's like a very big aspiration. Like for whatever is happening, that I should be able to respond with ease and generosity, peace and generosity. So I understand that's like a very large order, right? So then there are other little ones that take me there. So as I said this morning in response to Yocheved's question, one of my aspirations is when my loved ones present me with something, to really notice whether I can just simply accept it, you know, as it is, and accept them for who they are, you know. So, you know, right now I have something that I have to, actually I'll tell you now, someone in my family also died this week, my sister-in-law's father. And my sister-in-law is very dear to me, so I'm going to leave on Thursday to go to his funeral. I'll leave tomorrow night, so you all know I'll leave tomorrow night after the talk, and I'll be back hopefully early Friday. But I would like my son to join me. And my son may or may not join me. I don't know. So I have a real aspiration that I'm working with right now, to be able to meet whatever comes with a peaceful and benevolent heart. Right? So that's like that's a tall order too, right? But, you know, you break it down. So aspirations, I think, are very, very important, can be, for trying to learn how to have this patience of spirit. So right concentration, like developing a certain level of settledness in the mind, which allows for rapture and balance and buoyancy. Keeping our aspiration in mind, which dispels doubt. Remembering why we're doing this and fuels our wholesome desires. And the third one is strength, or persistence, as Norman says. And that's really the ability to return over and over and over and over again. And for those of you who are interested in this aspect, Norman has a chapter in his book, Taking Our Places. I don't know if it's a chapter or something, it's on persistence. It's great. It's great aid to, this is also an aspiration of mine, so I actually wrote it down and I carried it with me all fall. And one of the reasons I think that I was able to practice patience, which led to self-acceptance, was because I had this little aspiration in my car, and every time I was bored or needed something to do, I read it to remind myself what I was doing, right? What my aspiration was. I think that's how this works for some people. I don't know, but this is how it works for me. And what I don't want to actually, I'm not going to quote Norman, because last time I quoted Norman in eCamp, I quoted him wrong. So I'm going to paraphrase it. The practice of persistence, the practice of coming back over and over and over again, allows us to deal with our, it exercises the muscle of strength and the ability to return. And in that, when we are confronted with frustration, as we learn to come back over and over again, rather than being frightened by our frustration, we're strengthened by our frustration.